You wake up on a Tuesday morning, grab your coffee, open your laptop, and there it is.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded email.
The dreaded email from your biggest e-commerce client. And the subject line is just like in all caps. And the message just says, hey, our checkout broke after some app updated overnight. Customers can't buy anything. Fix this ASP.
It is, it's the absolute definition of an agency owner's worst nightmare.
Right.
The sheer panic. You're just rapidly calculating the lost revenue in your head and frantic scrambling to figure out, what piece of code randomly decided to just give up.
Totally. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the invisible, decidedly unglamorous, but honestly wildly lucrative world of white label Shopify maintenance.
It's a fascinating space.
It really is. We're pulling from a super insightful piece by Prince Kapoor over at ViralChilly. They're a firm that specializes in this exact back-end architecture. And, even if you don't own an agency, what we're going to cover today is this huge aha moment.
Absolutely.
Right, like about how the digital infrastructure of your favorite online stores actually operates behind the scenes. So our mission today is to understand how this hidden technical support is really the secret engine allowing web agencies to scale, and specifically how ViralChilly facilitates that whole process.
Because the average person interacting with the seamless online checkout has, absolutely no idea about the fragile ecosystem keeping that transaction alive.
They just click buy now and expect magic.
Exactly. They expect magic. But creating that magic requires just constant, grueling upkeep.
Yeah, Kapoor actually calls maintenance the unglamorous cousin nobody wants to invite to dinner.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. But to me, it's like buying a high-end sports car. You go to the dealership, you fall in love with the showroom shine, the leather seats, the horsepower.
And you drive it off the lot feeling invincible.
Exactly. But nobody stands in the showroom fantasizing about the constant oil changes, right? Or the tire rotations, or replacing the brake pads. But if you ignore those things, that gorgeous sports car is just going to leave you stranded on the side of the highway in the rain.
That analogy captures the client's mindset perfectly. The launch is the showroom. But we really have to look at why those digital oil changes are so intensely necessary on a platform like Shopify.
Because people think Shopify just handles all of that.
Right. That's the common trap. A lot of agencies and clients assume that because Shopify is a hosted platform, the maintenance is, already taken care of.
They handle the servers, right?
Right. Shopify handles the server, so you don't worry about server updates. That part is true. But the trap isn't the server. It's the ecosystem.
Break down that ecosystem for us, because from the outside looking in, Shopify seems pretty, enclosed and safe.
Well, the sheer scale of it is what introduced the chaos. We're currently looking at over 6.9 million live Shopify stores globally.
Wow. Almost 7 million.
Yeah. And Shopify captures roughly 30% of the entire U.S. e-commerce market. But the core Shopify platform is actually pretty basic.
So how do they get all the fancy features?
Right. To make those millions of stores unique, to add customer loyalty programs or advanced shipping calculators or specific discount pop-ups, they rely on a massive marketplace of third-party apps. There are over 17,000 of them in the ecosystem right now.
17,000 different pieces of software made by thousands of different developers that you're just bolting onto your store.
Exactly. Imagine a single client store running 15 to 20 of those apps simultaneously. Every time the core Shopify platform rolls out an update, it creates this ripple effect.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, and every time one of those 20 apps pushes an update overnight, it has the potential to conflict with the custom theme code or, the other third-party integrations.
I want to pause here and look at the actual mechanics of that. Why do they conflict so badly? What is physically happening in the code that makes a checkout suddenly break just because a shipping app updated?
It comes down to how these apps actually integrate with the store. Many of them aren't neatly siloed off in their own little sandbox.
Okay.
To function, they often inject their own JavaScript directly into the store's global code. So let's say you have an inventory management app and a newly updated discount app.
Right.
They both might be trying to rewrite the behavior of the Add to Cart button at the exact same millisecond.
Oh, man. So it's like trying to conduct a symphony, but you have 20 different musicians who all brought sheet music in different keys, and there's no conductor.
That is exactly what's happening.
Good.
The overlapping JavaScript clashes, the browser doesn't know which command to prioritize, and the button just vanishes.
It's gone.
Or the checkout script freezes entirely. And neglecting this friction is disastrous. I mean, Kapoor's research notes that over 90% of companies experience security breaches that stem directly from unpatched vulnerabilities in their web application.
Wait, 90%?
Yes. Because while Shopify's core infrastructure handles things like PCI compliance for credit cards, it simply cannot protect a store from vulnerabilities introduced through a third-party app.
Or like a piece of custom code that hasn't been updated in a year.
Exactly.
And this brings us back to that Tuesday morning panic. When that client's store gets hacked, or when the checkout breaks, and they lose a full day of Black Friday sales, they do not email the third-party app developer in Estonia.
No, they don't even know who that is.
Right. They don't blame the hacker. They call the agency.
They blame the people who built the store. In their mind, you built it, so it's your fault it broke. Your entire reputation is on the line.
Okay, so if the stakes are that high, if your reputation and your client retention are literally hanging in the balance, my first instinct as a business owner would be to grip the steering wheel tighter.
Sure. You want to control it.
Right. Shouldn't an agency keep this maintenance entirely in-house? I mean, isn't outsourcing a massive risk to quality control? You're essentially handing the keys to your client's kingdom over to a total stranger.
I mean, that protective instinct makes complete sense. You want to control the environment. But let's look at the raw economics Kapoor lays out in the source material, because the math tells a very different story.
Okay.
Keeping maintenance in-house simply does not scale if you actually want your agency to grow.
Walk me through that, because I have developers on payroll already. Why is it so financially toxic to just have them handle the updates?
Let's say you hire a mid-level Shopify developer in the US, fully loaded, with benefits. That person costs roughly $95,000 to $125,000 a year.
Yep, easily.
Realistically, that one dedicated developer can only maintain about 15 to 20 highly active stores before the quality of their work starts to slip, where they just burn out. There are only so many hours in a week.
True.
Now, contrast that with an established white label partner like ViralChilly.
Yeah.
To have a partner handle those exact same 15 to 20 stores, an agency might pay between $3,000 to $6,000 a month. Annually, that's like $36,000 to $72,000.
Wow. You're cutting the overhead cost almost in half, if not more, just on the raw salary difference alone.
But the salary isn't even the most painful part of the equation. The real killer is the opportunity cost.
What do you mean?
Well, without a dedicated maintenance partner, your senior developers, the people you hired for top dollar to build brilliant, innovative new e-commerce experiences, they end up spending roughly 30% of their week drowning in unbilled quick fixes.
Oh, man. I can just imagine the soul-crushing nature of those quick fixes. It's never anything exciting.
Yeah.
It's a client emailing because a summer discount code expired, but it's still showing up in the homepage banner. Or, like, the shipping rates are miscalculating by 50 cents for orders in Ohio.
Exactly. Or product images are suddenly rendering slightly blurry on a specific Android phone.
Right. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts.
It really is. Every hour your senior developer spends hunting down a broken image link is an hour they are not spending on highly profitable new site builds or, strategic conversion rate optimization projects.
You are paying a premium for an architect and forcing them to unclog the plumbing.
That is the perfect way to phrase it.
That paints a really bleak picture for the traditional agency model. So how does white labeling actually flip this dynamic? Because the source material talks about this incredible shift from a total operational drain into a major financial gain.
This is the genius of the white label model, and why firms like ViralChilly are in such high demand. By white labeling, agencies turn that operational drain into monthly recurring revenue, or MRR.
Okay, how does that math work?
They take the white label partner's wholesale cost, let's say it's $150 to $500 per store per month, and they package that invisible back-end work into a branded monthly care plan for the client.
Ah, I see.
They might sell that plan for $300 to $1,500 a month. The agency pockets the margin, and the client gets absolute peace of mind.
You're essentially arbitraging technical expertise. You're buying wholesale peace of mind and selling it retail.
Exactly.
Kapoor mentions a specific example of this transformation, doesn't he? An agency that completely changed their financial trajectory.
Yeah, he highlights an agency that went from having zero recurring revenue, living entirely project to project, constantly hunting for the next big build just to make payroll.
Which is so stressful.
So stressful.
Yeah.
But they went from that to bringing in $15,000 a month in pure maintenance retainers in a single quarter.
Whoa.
And they achieved that without hiring a single new employee.
$15,000 of guaranteed recurring revenue every single month. I mean, that covers your office lease, that covers your core payroll,
Yeah.
that lets you actually sleep at night instead of staring at the ceiling worrying about where next month's cash is coming from.
It creates a baseline of stability. It allows the agency to confidently take on more complex, higher-paying projects because they aren't terrified of the endless maintenance tail that follows the launch.
Okay, the math is undeniably attractive, but I'm still hung up on the illusion of it all. How does a third party actually do this incredibly complex, sensitive technical work without the client ever figuring out that their trusted agency isn't the one doing it?
The execution of that illusion is what separates a legitimate white label partner from, you know, a cheap, unreliable freelancer. It requires a completely airtight workflow.
It reminds me of a really high-end restaurant.
Okay, how so?
Well, you walk in, the host seats you, the waitstaff hands you a menu with the restaurant's beautiful logo stamped in gold foil on the front. They serve you right at the table, taking care of your every need.
Right.
But the kitchen in the back, the people actually cooking the food, it's entirely run by a world-class invisible ghost kitchen team.
Ah.
The diner has absolutely no idea. They just know the food is incredible and the service is seamless.
That's a brilliant way to visualize it. But for that ghost kitchen to function without burning the restaurant down, their protocols have to be foolproof.
Right.
It's not just logging into a client store and blindly clicking update all on those 20 apps on a Tuesday morning. It requires a fundamental shift from reactive management waiting for things to break to proactive management.
So if I'm running this ghost kitchen, how am I ensuring the soup doesn't catch fire while the agency is sleeping? They must have some sort of barricade up.
The absolute golden rule, the non-negotiable protocol for a firm like ViralChilly, is the staging first approach.
Ah, testing before deploying.
Yes. I cannot overstate the disaster of updating an app on a live production store and accidentally breaking the checkout. A good partner will audit the store's current state first.
Okay.
They clone the store into a separate private staging environment. They run the app updates there. They rigorously test the checkout flow, the integrations, and the visual rendering.
So they do a full dry run.
A full dry run.
Yeah.
They confirm nothing broke, and only then do they roll those exact changes to the live production store.
Because if a store is doing $5,000 an hour in sales, a broken checkout script for even 20 minutes is a catastrophic, measurable loss for the client. You just can't test in production.
Never test in production. And beyond those crucial updates, the white label partner manages a strict division of tasks. The core tasks run continuously in the background. Daily automated backups, 247 uptime tracking, minor content edits, and intense security monitoring.
Let's talk about that security monitoring, because I assume it's way more involved than just relying on Shopify's basic SSL certificate, which, just encrypts data in transit.
All much more involved.
Yeah.
It means actively scanning for malicious code injections, enforcing two-factor authentication policies across all staff accounts, constantly reviewing app permissions.
Right. So a newly installed rogue app doesn't just siphon the customer database.
Exactly. And defending against brute force login attempts, where bots try thousands of passwords a second.
And then the source material mentions the advanced tasks. This is the stuff that really requires deep Shopify expertise.
Yeah, this is where a generalist web developer usually gets in way over their head. We're talking about recurring core Web Vitals optimization, fixing complex liquid code, handling structured data updates, and even managing headless commerce setups using frameworks like Hydrogen and Oxygen.
Okay, hold on. You just threw a massive amount of technical jargon at me.
Fair enough.
Let's hit the brakes. And ELI 5, explain it like I'm 5. First, what is liquid code and why does it need fixing?
Good catch. So, Liquid is Shopify's specific template language. Think of it as the bridge between the ugly, raw database of products and the beautiful visual storefront the customer sees.
Okay.
It pulls the data like the price or the product title and decides where to display it on the screen. If an agency builds a highly custom theme, the liquid code gets very complex.
I see.
A white label partner has to know how to go into that specific code and untangle it when a new app tries to overwrite it without breaking the visual design of the store.
Got it. Now, what about headless commerce? You mentioned hydrogen and oxygen. That sounds like a chemistry experiment, not e-commerce.
Headless commerce is a major trend for massive stores right now. Essentially, it means chopping the head off the store.
Sounds violent.
Well, you separate the front end, the visual design the customer interacts with, from the back-end commerce engine that processes the payments and inventory. They operate independently and talk to each other via APIs.
Okay, why would you do that?
This makes the website incredibly fast and customizable. Hydrogen is simply Shopify's specific toolkit for building that custom front end, and Oxygen is where they host it.
Okay.
But Maintaining a headless store requires specialized engineering. It's not something a junior developer can just figure out on the fly.
That clarifies so much. And then there's Core Web Vitals, which I know is Google's metric for how fast a page loads and how stable it is.
Right. The metric that often causes headaches is the largest contentful paint score.
Which is what, exactly?
Basically, how long it takes for the biggest image or text block on the screen to load. If a marketing team installs a heavy, poorly coded video pop-up app, that score tanks.
And then Google notices and drops the store's search ranking.
Exactly. The white label partner's job is to spot that drop, go into the code, compress the assets, defer the non-essential scripts, and get that speed score back up.
Okay, so the technical expertise required is intense. But here's the fundamental business problem with everything we just discussed.
What's that?
All of this work, the staging environments, the brute force defense, untangling the liquid code, it is completely invisible to the client. And invisible work has zero perceived value.
Yep.
If a client doesn't see you sweating, they are going to cancel that $1,500 a month retainer in a heartbeat because they think you aren't doing anything.
It's a huge issue. How do you prove the value of something designed to be completely unseen? The answer is the reporting.
Okay.
This is the glue that holds the entire white label model together. The partner creates highly polished, detailed monthly reports covering the uptime stats, the completed security tasks, the blocked attacks, the speed performance scores, and, strategic recommendations for the next month.
And this is the absolute key to the whole illusion. They put the agency's logo on it.
Yes. The client receives a beautiful, comprehensive report with your agency's branding on every single page. They feel incredibly taken care of.
So they stay on the retainer year after year.
Exactly. And you, the agency owner, didn't write a single word of it.
Yeah.
That is invisible execution resulting in highly visible, highly appreciated results.
So knowing all of these intense requirements and knowing the massive red flags like skipping staging environments and gambling with a client's livelihood or failing to provide branded reporting, where do agencies actually turn? Let's focus on the team behind today's source material, ViralChilly.
Sure.
Because trust is still the biggest barrier here. When an agency finally decides to hand over the keys, what specific safety nets does a company like ViralChilly put in place to ensure the agency doesn't get burned?
Well, ViralChilly's entire business model is built around solving this specific trust dilemma. Their value proposition relies on a rigid, legally binding division of labor.
Meaning what?
Meaning, ViralChilly handles the technical execution entirely in the background, and the agency retains total, exclusive control of the strategy and the client relationships.
And they actually have the pedigree to back up that technical execution. The source material notes they bring over 13 years of digital marketing and web development experience to the table.
That's a long time in tech.
Yeah, they have essentially already paid the tuition of learning these hard technical lessons on hundreds of other stores, so the agency doesn't have to learn them the hard way on their own clients' dimes.
But the most common fear agency owners have is client theft.
Oh, 100%.
If ViralChilly knows everything about a store, what stops them from just cutting the agency out of the loop and offering the client a cheaper rate directly?
That would be my immediate fear. I'd be terrified of introducing the mechanic to my client directly.
And ViralChilly mitigates it through ironclad legal boundaries. They operate under strict non-disclosure agreements and non-solicitation agreements.
So they can't touch them.
Right. They are legally bound to never poach or even directly contact the agency's clients. All communication routes strictly through the agency's systems or through a dedicated account manager that ViralChilly provides.
That is a massive relief. It's really a complete turnkey solution. You just plug their team into the back of your agency, you utilize their staging protocols and branded reports, and suddenly you have a world-class 247 maintenance department.
It's the clarity of that division of labor that keeps agencies coming back. The agency focuses on what they do best: growth, pitching new ideas, and building relationships.
And ViralChilly focuses on stability, security, and making sure the checkout never breaks on a Tuesday morning.
Exactly.
Let's bring this all together. We started this deep dive looking at the anxiety-inducing necessity of Shopify maintenance. But what we've discovered is that this exact necessity can either be an agency's biggest operational drain, eating up 30% of a senior developer's week, or through white label partners like ViralChilly, it can be transformed into a highly scalable, wildly profitable stream of monthly recurring revenue.
It is a profound shift in how an agency operates. moving from the terrifying feast or famine cycle of project launches into the calm stability of reliable, high-margin monthly retainers.
And for you listening, understanding these back-end business mechanics really makes you a sharper observer of the digital world. The next time you're shopping online, clicking through a beautifully designed checkout that calculates your shipping flawlessly in milliseconds, you now know the secret.
Yeah, it's not magic.
It isn't. There isn't just an agency that built the site. There is likely an entire invisible army of specialists quietly keeping the lights on, updating the code, and fighting off the bots.
It completely changes how you view the digital infrastructure we take for granted every single day.
It really does. So I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over. Think about that high-end sports car from the showroom, or the ghost kitchen in that five-star restaurant. If so much of the internet's critical infrastructure, the very plumbing of global e-commerce, is maintained completely invisibly by third-party white-label services operating in the shadows, how much of the digital world that you interact with every single day is actually run by the brand name on the label?
A fascinating question.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep looking beneath the surface.